Hello everybody and welcome to Planet Sky FF, the show where everything revolves around £50,000. My name is Serge.
And my name is James.
Are we any closer to the jackpot, the golden prize of £50,000?
Well, closer, yeah, but not going to win it.
Never say never, James. Honestly, never say never.
Well, it's not impossible, no.
No. Tell everybody about how your Sky Fantasy Football game week was this week.
Yeah, okay, pretty good. 94 points for a game week rank of 25,000, which by the end I was pretty unhappy with, if I'm honest. That's going to sound
Sunday was a damp squib.
Well, yeah, plus I'd made 2 transfers, so I had 13 players out of the weekend. I obviously started with nearly half of those points. Well, in fact, over half of those points coming on the Friday night with Captain Vardy plus 10 points from Siyunku.
Yeah.
So it was on 50 points on the Friday night up to 9k overall. I finished the week at 11k. Nice return from Edison. Kevin De Bruyne, who I'd bought in for Vardy on Saturday morning. The intention is to get Vardy back this weekend, by the way.
Yeah.
Captain De Bruyne once Aguero was left out. Assist Mount, 4 points McGinn, 4 points Wan-Bissaka, 3 points Trent. Edison, nice 12-pointer. Captain blank from Aubameyang on Sunday. I'd also bought in Pookie on Sunday for Luca Dean, who had managed to return me a minus 2 points on Saturday. One of them rare occasions when, oddly enough, I would have been better off making the transfer before the bastard played and not waiting the extra game. Obviously, you should always wait. That's a very unique circumstance where he's returned a -2 there.
Not bad at all.
Yeah, so I'm progressing with the 4 transfer plan that I'd explained last week. So I'm moving off of Aguero after the fixture on Saturday against Southampton back to Jamie Vardy. And then once I've captained Pookie against Watford, I'm pretty certain I'm going to be moving to Mane, which maybe feels the wrong time as that's walking into the Liverpool-Man City fixture, but I think that's where I want to go with the team.
Yeah. Not bad at all. What's your total points now?
Total points?
Points.
That's
it will tell you right at
testing
the
me.
end. 700 and... It will tell you if you go to the home page.
I'm still working around this app, and I can't even get it up. 739.
739. I'm on 700 at the moment. So 39 points between us, which is catchable if you get the right captain option in this now. I hit the 100 club in this, 101 points. I don't think it's as much of a deal as it is in FPL to hit 100 points in Sky because of the way you can maneuver around your multiple captains and multiple players and stuff. But it was the first time I've done it this season, so happy to hit the 100 club. Like you, Siyunku and Jamie Vardy on Friday night gave a great start to the game week. Edison returned. Sterling was my captain on Saturday, so that helped, and he returned. De Bruyne got me points. Mount with 5, Pepe with 4. Aubameyang didn't return. I had 3 players that let me down, 4 if you count Trent. Dean, Gilbert and Aubameyang that were worth 5 points between 4 players. So to come out with 101 after that was not bad. I was really keen to make a transfer on Sunday to get rid of Luca Dean and bring in someone that was playing on the Sunday that I would then hold for a little while. I ummed and on with a couple of players. The one that I was looking at was Wan-Bissaka potentially for Man United because they do have a couple of single game days between now and the end of January. And I thought, you know what? I do want coverage for those, and Wan-Bissaka is probably the best option, same price as Luca Dean. But I didn't do it in the end because I wasn't 100% convinced that that's what I wanted to do. Rashford was another option, or Daniel James for Pepe, but I didn't really want to do it. And in the end, I decided that rather than rush into it without proper planning, just leave it be and save the transfer because I'm not going to lose the transfer. Put a decent spreadsheet together that shows me all the fixtures and the gaps, and then actually start to make a little bit more of a concrete plan moving forward.
And you really have made a spreadsheet.
I did. But I'll be honest with you, like off the back of 65 points the week before, a really bad 34, but 91 before then, I feel like, you know what, I'm not too badly positioned now. I'm up to 26k overall, but 39 points, and I'll this is another 10,000 places, like you can see between us, more than that, 13,000 places. So ready to go with this, actually. Ready to go.
Okay, let's do it. I'm glad you're positive for it again, because I think after the 34, you had a bit of a wobble, didn't you?
Well, the 34 was off the back of a 91, so I was a bit irritated. But then I think FPL was doing badly at that time as well. So fascinating. Talk to me about captains this week. Who are you thinking on the Saturday? Surely Aguero.
Yeah, I mean,
for me, surely Sterling, because
I sent a tweet out on Twitter last night, because there's so much, and this applies to any fantasy game essentially at the moment, so much noise on the back of Aguero and Jesus both starting together for City in the League Cup against Southampton. And what does it mean for the weekend?
Nothing.
You're all guessing. We're guessing. We don't know. My take on it is, for this coming Saturday, he's captain the biggest arse Man City player that you've got in your squad, whether that be Aguero or Sterling, or then even KDB if you have neither, and deal with the consequences afterwards. My intention is to captain Aguero on Saturday and then sell him Sunday morning for Jamie Vardy, and then captain Jamie Vardy on Sunday. Mm-hmm. That's my plan.
Yeah. What do we learn from Jesus and Aguero playing? Like you said, in terms of selection, nothing other than Aguero hasn't started the last 2 league games, came off the bench, played yesterday, scored 2 goals. So that man doesn't need to be playing week in, week out to be on form. He can score anytime, any place, anywhere. He can have a fucking 2 months off. He'll come back, could probably fucking score a hat-trick in his first game back. So, yeah, Aguero, if you own him, is definitely a good captaincy shout. I'm going with Sterling because he's the biggest City player that I own. Quite straightforward, really. There are other good options out there as well, but I think City's the one.
If you own both, which you may well have got into that position ahead of the previous game at home to Aston Villa, then I think between Aguero and Sterling this weekend, I would probably edge to Sterling slightly. There's 2 reasons for that in relation to Sky. One is obviously he didn't play at all last night, so it just gives you a little more confidence. 2, the ownership of Sterling as well is going to act as a little bit more of a shield for you. Sterling's ownership is really high in this, certainly in the top 1,000 teams in comparison.
Would you like to know how much?
I do know it's 51.2%.
It's on the screen right in front of us now. 51 points, more than half of the top 1,000 have Raheem Sterling.
And all of those that have him are going to captain him as well.
Correct.
Making his effective ownership monstrous.
If you do hit with Aguero, then you could have a real differential there.
Essentially, yes, it will almost act like a differential against, we assume, half of players will basically captain Raheem Sterling on Saturday. I don't think there's obvious alternative to go against Manchester City on Saturday. Would you rather go Mane or Salah at Villa?
No, I mean,
or
Wolves
Aubameyang,
at home for Aubameyang, maybe.
At home to Wolves. I don't think you would you?
Off the back of Southampton getting smashed 9-0 and losing to City in the League Cup.
These two fixtures for Aubameyang, when I got him in for a prolonged period, I was always looking in my mind as in I probably wouldn't captain him in the Wolves or the Leicester fixtures. So I'm going to put up with that. There's a lot of people asking, should you come off Aubameyang? I'm still very much in hold camp. And that's for the reasons after the Wolves and Leicester, which is Southampton, Norwich, Brighton, West Ham. And the Norwich game falls on a Sunday. The Brighton game is a Thursday night. And I think Sheffield United and Newcastle was the other game. And the West Ham away game is a Monday night.
Yep.
The Southampton game is a Saturday. And you might argue that on that given game week that he's the best option on the Saturday even. It's a home game as well. So I think I'll be captaining Aubameyang most likely for the 4 games after Wolves and Leicester.
Yep.
Therefore, he's staying.
Yeah, I don't think he's worth getting rid of necessarily.
And he's owned, I mean, we talked about Sterling's ownership, 70% Aubameyang in the top 1,000.
Because of the captaincy coverage that he gives.
Yeah, I don't see the reason particularly with Arsenal having consecutive Saturday fixtures where there's a nice manoeuvre to come off him here, to get something out of it. I think, obviously, if the Leicester fixture had been on the Sunday, perhaps you'd dive in for 2 and then go back for Aubameyang for for the Leicester game, but I think it's just a hold through, and I won't captain him in the next 2 game weeks.
Yeah, there isn't any clubs that play twice in between the 2 matches, so no. You can't get a 2-for-1 off him for sure.
No, he's going to hold for me. I know there's mass frustration with Arsenal, and obviously the events and the game at the weekend against Palace have led probably people to be more concerned, perhaps over the mental state of Arsenal following the Xhaka incident.
Yeah, so the news today is they're offering him counselling now.
Xhaka? Wow.
The club are offering him counselling, but no news on whether or not Emery is stripping him of the captaincy.
It's not a Sky conversation, so we won't do it now, but Granit Xhaka would massively help himself if he just come out and went, look, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, we've all raged
because his manager has now said as well in the press conference yesterday, he needs to apologise. So, now your manager's said it. Just put a fucking stupid Microsoft Word screenshot out on Twitter and say, I'm regretful for the way I reacted. I love the club, whatever.
Yeah.
Just to placate people.
Shall we do some of the questions that we have? Let's have a look here. Just looking at how many minutes we've been chatting for. 11. Right, FPL JB, FPL_Bailey on Twitter, if you'd like to follow JB. Thoughts on going without a captain for Friday night football, Norwich versus Watford? Is it worth burning a transfer to get a player in and then burning one to get rid of said player?
My instinct is no. I obviously went for Pookie.
No, don't waste transfers getting someone in.
I went for Pookie, and obviously for a 3-game spell, of which United on paper was the toughest fixture, and he's obviously not returned in. I think it was part of a bigger process for me to be able to work Kevin De Bruyne into my squad, and he was a part of, although I got De Bruyne in early, to then get back to sort of a place where I want to have Vardy and Mane. I needed to make these moves to juggle the money while I'm in the process of doing it, and it has allowed me to get 3 fixtures of Pookie against a lot of teams' 1 fixture. I think in hindsight, it probably wasn't worth doing, in the fact that it's going to have cost me the 2 transfers to get him in. I don't really hold any massive confidence in Norwich doing anything at the moment. But that said, it's not I'm not looking at it as it's a massive rick. Like, I'll judge that after the 3rd game against Watford. It's Brighton away this week. It's Watford at home.
Both have been leaky. I mean, Watford have been better in the last couple of games, but they've still leaked goals. And Brighton, even though they won last week with Everton, still leaked goals as well. So Pookie's got every chance of returning in those. So it's not one that you're looking face in palm. No,
not at all, because
it could turn out right.
If Pookie blanks again this weekend and he gets 2 or 3 against Watford, that's job done. It really is job done. So that's all I'm really looking for, is the return now. I would say, if you were to go and get involved in Norwich and Watford, it might be worth looking at Watford.
I was when I read the question, that was exactly the same thing for me as well. I'd rather go to Watford than Norwich.
They've only scored, I think it's 5 goals so far this season, so you're not looking there. There is one that holds a bit of value defensively, which is Craig Dawson. Now, he's only at 6.1 million. He has only scored 12 points so far this season, but it's 13 in the last 4. It doesn't fill you with joy. It's worth saying that he didn't start the fixture against Sheffield United, which was 0-0. He did hit a passing tier in the game at Wolves, although I think we always have to be a little bit cautious with Wolves, that players will pick up passing tiers against Wolves more than perhaps any other side. And obviously the clean sheet in the Watford fixture at the weekend gone. He's the cheapest of the regular starters in that side, and it might be one you can fall back on and actually just leave for a while. I think there's fixtures afterwards for Watford, so Burnley and Southampton follow that. Then it's Leicester, Palace, Liverpool, United. It's a little bit naughtier. Because of the value of Dawson, he might be one that you'd throw in there. Personally, my overview on Norwich-Watford would be, if you've not already made some sort of move, I'd avoid.
It,
and Todd Cantwell, just on that, dodge. Went off at half-time at the weekend. I've spoke more on the FPL pods about Anel Hernandez return to fitness. He'll give Norwich a bit of an outlet in terms of pace. Cantwell's place in that team might now be up for grabs, so definitely avoid him as a move. The one you can trust from a goal-scoring perspective is, I say trust, but it would still be Pukki. 7.8, but I think now, don't do it.
Yeah, not for me. I'm going to be going without, if that gives you any kind of confidence in going without Bailey. There we go. Tartan Espanyol. Wanting to go with a Leicester midfielder in for Harry Wilson. After the Bournemouth game on Saturday, he says he's learnt his lesson. But he's thinking Tielemans instead of Maddison. Now, Tielemans is priced at 8. Maddison is priced at 8.3. So unlike the Sky game, FPL game, there's not as much of a difference. I do think that people are getting a little bit giddy with Tielemans because, yeah, he scored again in the League Cup yesterday. But if you look historically over a longer period of time, Maddison's attacking returns are just so much more consistent for that 0.3. In FPL, if you're trying to save 0.8 or 0.9, I can understand it and value going up and value going down. But I don't think so necessarily in Sky that I'd rather go with Tielemans than a Maddison necessarily. I think Maddison's just that much more consistent and reliable.
In my structure of the 4 transfers that I've kind of planned in, which obviously 2 are done, it would leave me with 0.3 in the bank. And I do want to come off Harry Wilson as well. I might even do that this weekend. Now, I obviously, for example, couldn't get to Tielemans or Maddison, who I think at the slightly higher price, if you don't have McGinn or Mount, would be the best choices. McGinn, 4 points at City at the weekend. Now, absolutely doing a fixture like that to tick you over. So I think McGinn is a long-term hold for me. I feel the same at the moment because of Mason Mount and his value. So I can't get to Maddison or Tielemans personally. So would offer an alternative, which I am strongly considering, and it is a Leicester player as well. Harvey Barnes is 7.2 million. The biggest thing that puts me off Barnes is a little bit in terms of, like I've said with Harry Wilson, is you're not really probably going to get the passing tier or the tackle tier bonuses. Tielemans, for example, could pick you up passing tackle tier bonus in any game week.
Yeah, he picks up passing tiers, tiers,
whereas Maddison,
tackles and passing tiers.
Maddison, I don't know if you want to have a quick look at Maddison's stats, but James Maddison probably won't pick you up too many tiers either, and that concerns me a little bit with Harvey Barnes. But on the plus side, he's scored 38 points so far, which 3.8 per game week doesn't sound great. However, he's now, I think, locked in a place in the team. He started the last 5, which has included 5 assists in those games. The 2 that he blanked in were fixtures against Tottenham and Liverpool. And there was shots here bonus in the Southampton game for him as well, so he returned 10 points. I think he's improving as a footballer. I think he has mass potential. I think with the way they're playing at the moment, he's someone that potentially you can consider. And Harvey Barnes, if I was to force through that move this weekend, would probably be the move that I'd make. I think he's beginning to lock down a place for Leicester. Mass differential as well. I think you would have to accept, though, that you're not going to get returns off him unless he physically gets attacking returns, I would say.
Yep. Harvey Barnes is definitely a good option because he is that little bit cheaper. Tielemans has scored more points this season than Maddison, bringing it back to the question, 58 versus 52. So not a lot in it. The thing with Tielemans is he's returned in 4 games. He's blanked in all of the others. You asked about tiers. I've had a quick click through. Tielemans has picked up tier points 4 times this season. Maddison only twice. But both have picked up man of the match twice. Now, Maddison's had 1 less game this season as well because he missed the game through injury. So there's not a lot in it. If you did come back to that logic of tier bonus points potentially, then perhaps Tielemans is a slightly better option because he's picking up shots and passing and tackle tiers. With Maddison, it's shots and passes. Shots more than likely, though. So I think you're right. Tielemans is more likely to pick up the tiers.
I think of the 2 between them, Tielemans and Maddison, I would favour Tielemans. I just think there's probably more all-round chance of points. And also, they feel like they're a little bit more settled in this kind of, it's more of a 4-1-4-1 formation, whereas if you think back when they went to Old Trafford and lost, and they played Chowdhury and Ndidi, and it was a little bit more defensive. Whereas essentially Tielemans and Maddison are playing similar positions. Maddison is not so much a player who's going to break into the box. He's a creator, isn't he? Tielemans will do both jobs.
Maybe.
Do you know what? It's looked to me a little bit last couple of weeks as well. He looks a little bit more powerful than when he first come into the league. I feel like he's bulked up a little bit, Tielemans. And I think with the options in wide positions, with Jose Perez obviously had a good night on Friday, and Harvey Barnes now is someone who can dribble and run at players. I think Tielemans would be the better choice than Maddison. If it was no contest price-wise between the three of them, including Barnes, I would go Tielemans.
Yeah, I started talking about Maddison over Tielemans, having looked a little bit into it. I think Tielemans is not a bad shout. There's not going to be much in it now over the season. And we had a question in from FPL Achilles, who asked the question, after Arsenal play on Saturday, who is the best replacement for Pepe that is playing on Sunday and already own Vardy? Now, I'm actually in exactly that camp. I already own Vardy. I'm going to play Pepe on Saturday, but I've got Aubameyang for my Arsenal coverage. And it'll be one of the Leicester City midfielders. And just listen back to the last 5 minutes of whatever we've been talking about, because that answers your question. I would have said it would be one of the Leicester guys. There's not really anything from Everton or Spurs of interest. The only two Spurs players, Kane and Son, are forwards in this, so you're not really going to go from Pepe to one of them. Milivojevic from Palace as an option?
No, Palace is something that in 3 or 4 weeks we're really going to look at Crystal Palace. I'm certain of that. Not now. And the awkwardness in this particular game is that Zaha is so expensive, 10.3.
Yeah. But look at Milivojevic. He's more expensive than any of the Leicester midfielders. Barnes, Maddison,
it might be one where we look at them defensively, where sort of, I think PVA is probably the 6th or 7th. After the guys who are in the teams in the top 4, I think PVA might be the highest scoring defender at the moment. I think it's about 7.9 maybe PVA. And Joel Ward's relatively cheap at the other end of that spectrum. We might do a little look at what the best options are there, because Palace December is amazing. It does include an MNF game against Brighton at home as well, where you might want a little bit of coverage. So we will look at Palace. I don't think it's yet. Just on talking about your move where you're saying you might go, say, Pepe to one of these Leicester guys. What I would advise is, if you're going to make that move, consider what it leaves you in the bank on what the next move is. Of
course, yeah, because I've already got 0.6 in the bank. If I'm going to free up 1.2 million from selling Pepe, now I'm talking about 2 million. Where do I spend it?
Well, it might be, so we're saying, for example, like those who favour Maddison, for example, you might want to look at the next move, because I don't think there's a lot in it between Tielemans and Maddison.
No, it is.
And the 0.3 might be the difference of your next move, for example.
Yeah, true.
So do consider factors like that. You're trying to balance money, right? It's not like in FPL where you're growing the value or anything like that. You can plan this all the way. Well, I think we can begin to really start thinking into January.
Yeah. We got a question coming in from Ketan Chopra. Ketan, how you doing, mate? You're looking good in your profile picture, mate. And we thank you and appreciate you for all the time that you listen to the show. His question is, why do I listen to this Sky Pod every week when I don't even play the bloody game? And I'm trying to... I'm assuming it's my voice. I'll use my soft, gentle,
I think
Barry White voice.
You'd be putting everyone off right now. I really appreciate. A few people have said that they really still enjoy this pod, even though they don't play the game. I think that's because you might pick up little tactical things that one of us is saying, which can still relate to FPL or whatever. My advice always strongly is, if you are listening to this and you are not playing the Sky game, please do understand that a lot of the advice we're giving out will not relate to FPL. So, maybe pick up on some of the tactical stuff, but otherwise ignore it.
No, true. I think now's the time when I'm kicking into life in this game because of the tactics, not of the teams, not of the teams on the pitch, but what my plans are going to be. Let's answer a couple of others. But Ketan, keep listening. We appreciate every pair of ears that help us. We were looking at the charts today, James. We got into the Spotify charts or whatever. Now, here's an interesting one for you. On iTunes, on Apple, So Apple has charts based on each individual country. So we're like on sports podcast, I think 108 in the UK, 140 in Australia, like 82 in Japan or whatever.
Okay.
Ghana, mate.
Oh, we like first.
Top 30.
Really?
So now, basically, if you're listening to us in Ghana,
right,
on iTunes,
this is where you go off tangent, right? Yeah. Because this is the Sky podcast.
Yeah, but I'm just
saying.
I'm
going to guess they can't play in Ghana. I presume there's not too many Ghanaians listening. You really have announced these statistics on the wrong podcast.
I just thought of all the countries I'm proud of being there up there in Ghana. I reckon it's is it Tony Yeboah's playing FPL or something?
Tony Yeboah Town, yeah.
He's playing
Asamoah Gyan.
They're the ones. Brian Cohen, FPL Brian Cohen. Rashford or Jimenez? Straight A or B?
I'm not sure that's a Sky question.
I don't know.
Jimenez is way too expensive in this game.
Okay, so that answers your question.
Yeah, 100%. And there are obviously games coming up. Brighton at home, Sheffield United away. There's a little run for United. I think what puts me off with them is... It would be handy if Martial was a midfielder in this.
Yeah.
And you'd really have a look, perhaps even at the more expensive price. For me, it's probably taking up a spot that you want to use somewhere else. I mean, one of the things I might consider, for example, when I move off Pukki and go to Mane, there probably is a case, rather than going to Mane there, to go to Rashford or Martial. Bearing in mind they've got Brighton at home on the Sunday, and then we come back into... Sheffield United and Man United is the only game on that Sunday following the international break. So I might change my mind and decide to go down that route. I just feel like I quite quickly want to get some Liverpool attacking coverage back in my squad.
Yeah, that was another question that came in. I would have gone with Rashford, obviously the price being there, but then it gives you captaincy coverage on the Sunday in the next game week. And then you can hold him through against Villa and then Tottenham, and perhaps sell him before the City game where you might get 2 or 3, sell him after Tottenham. So, for example, Newcastle, Sheffield United, both have 3 games in between those 2 United games, Tottenham and
Everton. You going to Newcastle or Sheffield United?
No, maybe not. But if you're looking for a 3-for-1, there is one there. If you rule out the City game. Because that's not really an option.
What's probably more interesting to debate is obviously the points of these guys, Martial and Rashford. So Martial has basically 28 points from 5 games. You can do the maths on that, can't you? So just 5.6 per game.
Yep.
Whereas Rashford has 57 points from 10.
So 5.7.
So, but then he's a little bit more expensive as well, 10.8. I don't feel... like these guys, they're 2 players, but I don't think they'll pick up too much in the tiering. Rashford maybe. I think Martial's conversion is really good, and we've mentioned obviously the stats for United when Martial was fit. It's much better. There is a case, I don't think for this weekend, but then there's a case like that where I'm talking about moving off Pukki to a Mane, that maybe going to say Rashford or Martial instead for those 2 Sunday fixtures particularly.
And leaving yourself without any Liverpool attacking coverage.
Well, that's
we're both in that
problem.
same boat. And we do have a question coming in from FPL, at Hornet FPL. So Hornet, how long can you go without Liverpool attacking assets? But he does say Vardy seems to match their fixtures in terms of having good fixtures when Liverpool do.
So if we look at that as a comparison.
Liverpool and Leicester?
No, Liverpool and United.
Okay.
In terms of trying to make that move. So let's just say you are going to make a move. Let's say you're going to move from Aubameyang after the Wolves fixture and you want to look at going Liverpool or United for a shorter term fixed. It might be that the conclusion really is to go for United because obviously Liverpool play on the Saturday. Mm-hmm. As do United played Saturday this weekend?
This weekend, United are playing Sunday.
Early, sorry. But then obviously for the following one, so you'd probably hold, say Aubameyang after Leicester then maybe is probably more what you'd do.
Yep. You've got
Liverpool play at home to City, United play at home to Brighton. Now that Sunday's really awkward for the captaincy. I'd be honest, if I brought in Mane, I would captain Mane, I think, even against Man City. Whereas if I brought in Rashford for Brighton at home, I'd probably go that, wouldn't I?
Yeah.
The following week after the international break, Liverpool are at Palace. Whereas although United are at Sheffield United, it's the Sunday and it's the captaincy option, isn't it?
Yes, but you've just sold Aubameyang before Southampton at home on the Saturday.
Yeah. I was given.
It puts you in that awkward situation.
I'm taking that from the perspective of moving off Pookie after they played Watford.
Perhaps,
Aubameyang probably was not a good example.
But you could maybe look at Vardy as the one to go away from at that point. It just finished Arsenal at home, and then they've got Brighton away. They don't play again till the following Sunday.
Well, I think Aubameyang is a hold until they play Man City. It's around about the 10th of December or something
game
like that.
17, 18, something like that.
The 15th of December. And Leicester, I believe, play Man City the following week after that, if I'm correct.
Correct, indeed.
So I think they're probably, for me, Aubameyang and Vardy are at least a hold until those respective periods. And I will play around with my third. But then if I go Mane, you're probably not going to play with that either. And I would then say those three are a lock for me up front.
And then you don't have any City coverage.
I do, because I've worked Kevin De Bruyne in.
Yeah, and if you're happy to captain Kevin De Bruyne, then that solves that lack of Aguero and Raheem Sterling.
I also, in certain fixtures, wouldn't be too concerned. I don't know how this would go down with Sky players. One of the advices we were given at the start of the season was don't be too scared to captain a defender.
Goalkeeper or a defender, yeah. 12 points.
I don't know about captain a goalkeeper, but I mean, Ederson, when he is returning, you know, if you look at some of his returns so far, 11-9, 11-5 for some save bonus at Everton, 9-12. He's picking up some save tiers that we wouldn't have expected from him as additional bonuses as well. So, I mean, I would have been better with Captain Ederson rather than De Bruyne this weekend.
Yeah, me too.
But then Villa had an early shout for a penalty, which I think was correctly not given. He's made a few saves, particularly the late save from McGinn, I think was a really good save. So he could have easily conceded, right? And you don't feel you can have too much trust in City defensively at the moment. I think in some home games, though, there's a viability to that if you're stuck for options.
Yeah, no doubt. That's a wrap, James.
Okay, cool.
We've got a few other bits and pieces, but we've answered those questions in amongst the chat about Leicester midfielders, Liverpool assets, and so on and so on. So you're going in with Aguero. It says your Aguero versus my Sterling on the Saturday this week, and we're both captaining Vardy on the Sunday.
Yeah, I think best options for the 2 game days this week are for this Sterling because of the ownership shield, and Vardy on the Sunday. Sunday's quite open though. Like if you've got Kane, like it's fine. You could even make a case for Luka Dean, maybe. Personally, wouldn't. I think just go with Vardy at the moment. Palace away is awkward, but it's an awkward game for Spurs as well. Sunday's tough. I wouldn't stress about that too much. It's probably what happens with your captaincy Saturday will probably determine whether you have a good or bad week. I'll be on Aguero.
One last question coming in from Jamie FPL Potter.
Okay.
He wanted to challenge me to a head-to-head. I've got a 30-point head start, and he's not as motivated because the 50 grand looks so far away. So he wants to just challenge me to a head-to-head, end of the season. Loser gets the other a pint at the end of season live show, which I'll accept because the stakes are just £5 worth of beer. So I'm happy to accept that as a challenge. We'll keep you updated on how we're getting along.
That live show might even be FA Cup final day again.
Yeah, possibly.
Spurs
maybe.
And West Ham won't be in it, will they? So yeah, why not?
You never say never.
But if Arsenal are in it, I can't be dealing with it. I'll just stay in and lock the door.
We'll see. But yeah, I'm very much up for that. We'll keep each other posted, Jamie, on how we're getting on week in, week out. But challenge accepted.
Good luck.
Ciao for now. Well, let's just do all the usual, like, share, subscribe the show, especially if you're in Ghana. Get us up to number 1 in Ghana. That's what my goal in life is now. And yeah, do share the show. And hope you're enjoying the Sky game. Ciao for now.
Thanks, everyone. Good luck this weekend. Cue music, man-child.
The Fantasy Football Show.